On the Gladstone City Commission for August 22nd order. First up is invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Deacon Mike LeBeau.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings. We ask that you continue to guide us and lead us. Give us wisdom. Give us understanding. Give us the gifts we need to function and represent those who have elected us, so that we can go forth respectfully of all who are present with your grace and for the best for our community. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Bostwick,
Here.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Here.
Commissioner Phelan is absent,
Is absence excused.
Commissioner Thompson,
Here.
Commissioner View.
Here. All right, before we go into public comment, I want to amend the agenda to add two things. First would be K, First Lutheran Street closure request. And then L would be closed session to discuss written attorney letter. So I make that motion.
I'll support.
Okay, motion by Mayor Bostwick, support by Commissioner Thompson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So first up, public comment. First, we're going to do a presentation of Professional Excellence Award to PSO Todd Crow by the Michigan State Police.
Yes, we have a couple state policemen here to give Lieutenant Cunningham and Officer George.
Thank you. My name is George Saylor, for those of you that don't know me. I'm the Assistant District Commander for the 8th District. This is First Lieutenant Greg Cunningham. He's the Post Commander of the Gladstone Post down here. Just want to thank you for this opportunity to recognize Todd Crow for some of the work that he's doing and excellent work that's been done. And all too oftentimes when you think of police officers, you think of getting tickets or people getting arrested, but frankly, most of our work is involved with community service or serving the community in some fashion or way. And in this instance, Officer Crow was involved in a life-saving attempt, and along with Trooper Reynolds from the Gladstone Post, and they were able to revive a person at least for 24 hours. And unfortunately, the person succumbed to the next day, but it gave him enough time that his family was able to come around and be with him. And so what I'd like to do is have First Lieutenant Cunningham, who's going to read the facts of what happened, and we'll present that to Officer Crow.
Good evening. All too often with the negative information that is out there with the police officers, as Inspector Saylor has just advised, it's really nice that we can recognize some of the outstanding work that both our troopers do and our local officers do each and every day. And in this particular case, your public safety officer, Todd Crow, went above and beyond in his duties, and assisting him was one of our troopers from the Gladstone Post, and they were called to try to save a man's life, which they did, and he survived for almost 24 hours, at which time he was deceased. But at this time, I'll read the award that we have for Officer Crow. And it says, Dear Officer Crow, it is an honor and privilege to recognize the high degree of professionalism that you displayed while assisting a victim with life-saving efforts. A complete report of your actions, as detailed in complaint number 84-502 of 16, was submitted to 8th District Headquarters for review. The summary, as submitted in the request for a citation, read as follows. You were dispatched to a complaint of a male subject down and unresponsive. Trooper Reynolds responded to the scene where he assisted you with chest compressions and CPR on the male subject. The 56-year-old male subject was not breathing and had no pulse. Together with the use of an AED, You and Trooper Reynolds continued CPR until the arrival of medical personnel. The subject regained a pulse and lived until the following day at a local hospital where he passed away. After careful consideration of the facts and circumstances surrounding the incident, it was decided your actions deserved recognition with an award for professional excellence. I salute you for your outstanding commitment to public safety. It was signed by John E. Halpin, our 8th District Commander and Captain. At this time, I'll read off the award for professional excellence awarded with special honor to Officer Todd Crow for services provided to this department, characterized by outstanding performance of duty and a personal commitment to excellence associated with complaint number 84502 of 16. Again, excellent job, Todd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any public comment? All right, first is the consent agenda for City Commission regular meeting of August 8th, the open forum for the July 25th, the DDA regular meeting of July 12th, and payment of bills.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as published in the meeting minutes.
Support. All right, got a motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner View to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion?
The one bill that is in the group for $8,800.49, that's a sewer backup we had at home. And that's the sanitation of the house and some repairs, and that will be turned into our insurance company. It actually happened this spring when we had all the rain. Since then, with our new sewer truck, we have the sewer main in that area is clean, and we can hydraulically handle a lot more water, so that won't be happening anymore. So.
All right, thank you. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is unfinished business, a manager search report on private executive search companies.
The commission directed myself to look at local agencies, firms that would be able to assist the city commission on an executive search for the manager position. Attached to your staff report, you will find, I listed out the MML services that were presented at the previous meeting when I was tasked to look at private entities. I used that same list as a comparison when trying to talk to or send to private companies or individuals, so that we were comparing apples to apples, kind of the same type of services of what we were looking at. I did contact the city of Escanaba, the city clerk, Mr. Bob Richards over there. I attached his email, and in that he did say the mid-90s and early 2000 they did use MML and the City Managers Association and advertised in their magazines and news letters. The last 15 years they have promoted from within, so they have not utilized a company in the last 15 years. Michigan Works, I reached out to Ms. Holly Peoples. She is our representative there that we work with. She was only available by phone, so we did not have email to add to this, but they do not do consulting services such as this, but they would post on the Michigan Works Talent Bank, no charges for this service for us, and could provide assistance with posting in other publications. We would have to pay those costs associated for those publications, and they do conduct assessment tools. This would be testing, written testing that potential candidates would take, and the results would be sent to you, the commission, to evaluate. She did state that in the 1990s there was a push to publish openings in the private sector for municipal managers, and this was proven to be unsuccessful. Public sector is very different from private sector, and she recommended MML. They are the experts for us in public sector. Next, I reached out to, I couldn't find a lot of local people who do this. Those were the main companies that came up, but Lordstone Corporation and Mr. Jeff Ketchum, and you can find the emails attached as well. But Mr. Ketchum is a local in Gladstone. I was trying to acquire his contact information when the email dated Friday, August 5th, 2016 at 4:25 was forwarded to me by Mayor Bostwick. I did contact Mr. Ketchum on August 8th and had a lengthy conversation regarding the initial email proposal that he had sent out. He stated in the conversation that he had been contacted by a couple of commissioners already, so that they might be able to offer some insight from their conversation as well, and not just mine. But I took away from the conversation with Mr. Ketchum that he may be able to assist in some areas to prepare the commission for a potential search of a manager. But that would not include doing the actual conducting of a search for the city. This typically encompasses 200 to 300 hours of their time and would be cost prohibitive for the city. I pressed in our conversation what that cost would look like and was told minimally $80,000. Mr. Ketchum followed up our phone conversation and email back to me dated Monday, August 8th at 5:06 p.m., stating what areas he may be willing to advise the commission in regards to a city manager, which you have those emails in your packet. It depends on the service chosen. This is what I could find looking out for private companies locally in our area, other entities that do this for us, and this is what I came up with. I'm not sure what else is out there, if I missed something. It's your decision how we proceed, from this point. But if there are other services or whatever that I missed, I would recommend maybe putting together a packet and doing a bid, request for services or something, so that then we could put that out there and people, let us know. But this is what I could find locally for us.
Any ideas of which?
I like the idea that Jeff Ketchum is willing to help us out to do some of the preliminary stuff. I was one of the commissioners that called him when I got the email. Usually if somebody emails me, I follow up on it right away. And he basically told me that there was some stuff that he would help us with, and there wasn't going to be a charge, because he wasn't going to actually do the whole thing, but he would prepare us so that we had the right information on what we were asking or looking for. He was willing to do that. I don't know if he still is or not. Kim, did he mention something about that preliminary stuff? Or
I pressed him further for what would that entail, because it was a little bit vague of what I may be able to do, may not be able to do, what I can't do, what you can't afford. So for clarification, which he did summarize in that email. And what he says is, as a follow-up to our conversation, I may be willing to advise in the following areas. Leadership advisory, which is among the organizations that they consult for, less than 10% are ready to go out to a search. A board will typically have differences of opinions as to the structuring of a role and what needs to be hired. As such, we routinely assist them in working together to reach consensus on the role as well as its expectations and accountabilities. In addition, we define the culture and ideal personality fit for the position. Only then is an organization ready to go out to the search. That was his first item that he may be willing to help in. The executive search and selection. Once a job model is developed and the role defined, all search targets need to be defined. Once defined, the search is ready to begin. And 3, assessment and management appraisal. The cost of a mishire is huge, and in this role with the city, it could easily exceed the actual cost of compensation by a factor of 5. As a result, hiring the wrong city manager could cost the city $600,000 in failed initiatives, underperformance, disruptions, recruiting fees, etc. Therefore, it's critical that all finalist candidates be vetted and assessed by a professional and with uniform objective criteria. And then number 4, integration and onboarding. As discussed, you can perform the first 3 steps, but without an intentional plan of integrating the new city manager into the culture of Gladstone's culture, working environment, expectations, etc., a new hire can fail. And he offered if he can answer any other questions and serve as a resource to let him know. So that was his response to my pressing, what exactly would you do, and the pro bono offer. And he may be willing to advise in these areas. I think, him coming to a meeting to discuss exactly, or with the mayor or the manager, what exactly it is, and if it's what you want. He wouldn't
Well,
commit to me, I'll do X, Y, and Z.
Now, he
You
wants to
know,
give
or-
back to the community. He loves Gladstone. He said he just wants to do a little bit to help out the community, and he said he would entertain even 2 commissioners coming to talk to him in his office, just so he can go through what he feels would be nice, and then they could bring it back to the commission. And
I talked with him at length about that too, the whole 2 commissioner thing, and this is open forum, open meetings requirements that we have to do, and it's a board decision, commission decision. So I did explain to him that would have to be something that was done at an open meeting. This is a
no,
public
but
process.
his expertise could be passed on to 2 commissioners, and then it could be brought back to the public. I mean, because you're not having 3 commissioners. It's if 2 commissioners were interested in just going to see how he could hone in on getting it to a point that we could move forward as quick as possible with it, and saving a few of our city's taxpayers' dollars.
Sure. And I just, my personal opinion in seeing it before is that if the person comes and talks to you all at once, it's saving time and getting you to that same point a little bit quicker. Because a lot of things that need to happen have to be a consensus of this group, to move forward. The other thing I wanted to add, that I did include the job description, which came up at the open forum a month ago. Is there a job description on file? And there is. I included that. That is what the previous city manager worked under. Can completely be tweaked or adjusted, but that would be a decision, of the commission. I know you guys talked at the open forum of coming up with each individually your goals and what you want to see happen with that, and those are things, again, that would have to be done at an open meeting, which slows the process down, I know, but that's the way it goes. So at this point, I don't know any questions that you have, but that is the information that I was able to get for the alternative of going with the MML.
I personally like to see us follow the policy and for the procedure and our rules, where we post it internally. If nobody qualifies, at least follow them procedures. And I wish we would have did it a month ago. Just posted it internally. Local papers, Michigan Works. I'm not asking them to do executive search, but they can put it out on Michigan Works.
Right.
Pay for a couple of trade magazines. I went online and looked up city managers for hire and stuff. There's all kinds of places that it's listed in, and they're not paying, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to do it. And they have everything listed nice and neat and in a great form where it's going to draw, talks about their city and their community and what you expect and how the community, their budget and everything else. But we may have a hidden gem in the area or in the state. Escanaba's been doing it for 15 years. I don't know how much they've spent on it, or if they have better talent there than we have here, which I doubt. But I just think that if we just started moving that way and just expanded it with maybe 2 commissioners talking to Lordstone and going from there.
Yep. In my staff report, I put the recommendation is it's the commission decision. At any point in this process, you guys get to decide what the
Anyone-
process is going to be and how it's going to go down.
We need to get moving on it, I know that.
Did we advertise with MML last time? Did we go through MML?
We did a partial we looked back to see, I think we took the lower tier of that, where they did help and assist with us with some. We published in all the manager magazines and different things. We did do Michigan Works. We did do locally and out and abroad, but we didn't do that more advanced.
You know what the ballpark cost on that was?
I couldn't find, we pay MML for a lot of things, and I couldn't, going back that many years, I couldn't find exactly that invoice, for what we paid. But looking at the process and how they set it up, it appeared that it matched the lower tiered one.
What's the tier 1 cost right now, do you know?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I don't think I brought that, but it was in the last, I can look it up. I think the maximum amount on that, if you went for the high end, was $20,000. I think the lower end was 10, about in half, so in that range somewhere. And they will customize, a package too, which makes that a little bit more difficult of which services you want and trying to remember which services that they did go. But it was a mixed kind of blend. They did utilize them, and they did develop a search committee, to do kind of some initial legwork, but it was kind of a blended thing.
Once there's a job description made up, I mean, the advertising of it is something that we could handle, but I mean, as Kim being an HR department by herself, all the other stuff, doing the background checks and checking with the communities and all that other stuff.
I agree
there's
with you
just
there.
not we need some help with that.
I'm just thinking if we went through MML last time and they came up with a job description and a marketing type,
Right.
sure, or a
Did they?
city manager, well, they must have, right? I mean,
They didn't. This
Oh.
job description came from Michigan Works. Came in years ago and developed job descriptions for most of the city departments. Not all.
we
All
must have had
departments have
something
that.
last
So,
time we went out, right?
right.
So
And this is the only job description I could find on file. So I'm assuming
What
that
did
it
it
was
cost
this
us
one.
last time?
I couldn't find an actual cost because we pay dues to them. So some of the services they do provide. Some of it, that's why they say they can do a tailored one, an agreement of the things that you need and want. But those were the ranges, 10 to 20 for those listed services.
Well, if we hone in on a job description with Lordstone, helping us out a little bit, what's wrong with just following the procedure and just going out to wherever, seeing what we can get that way?
There's nothing wrong with it, but you
I mean,
guys have to
I'm
make that
asking the
decision to
commission.
do that.
I think that's a good thing. I think we need to look at the job description, update it appropriately. I know I retyped a whole one, a little bit different. But just, basically do that. And I think if we could get some free help with Lordstone, with 2 commissioners, and basically look at this and kind of get that going, and then maybe turn it over to MML at that point, have a little bit more knowledge that commissioners could share with the entire commission, because I don't want to burden you, because I know we take a lot of time because we just do.
Yes, it is a large thing, and I cannot help you and hold your hand through it. So.
Yeah, so we need to work on the job description, kind of, the ideas that we have, I'm looking at someone that can help really with economic development. That should be their focus. I'm sure everybody else has their own ideas, so we have to kind of gel what we think is the total package that we're looking for. So I think Lordstone could help, because I think with the different ideas we all, we need to come to some consensus so we know what we're looking for.
So what do we do?
Should I make a motion?
Yep.
I'm trying to practice my motions.
I move.
I'd like to make a motion that 2 commissioners be appointed to a committee to talk with Lordstone and consolidate the information from the other commissioners.
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner O'Connor, support by Commissioner Thompson.
Who will
Any
be the
more
commissioners?
discussion?
Yes,
We'll do that next.
that can be part of
We're
it.
going to do it in 2 parts.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Would like to be on the committee.
I volunteer.
I would volunteer too.
Okay, this is perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Do we make a motion? I make a motion that, you make a motion. We'll share this.
I'd make a motion that Commissioner View and Mayor Bostwick be on the search committee.
A second?
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner O'Connor, that myself and Commissioner, you'll be on the search committee to talk to Lordstone. All right, any more discussion on it? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks. Next is the set joint meeting with DDA for DDA amendment.
There's the MERS pensions.
Oh,
Yep.
wait, sorry, I skimmed over. Never mind. Sorry. MERS Pension and Stabilization Fund.
Kate, we've been talking about this for quite a few meetings. One of the goals, and Vicki and I, and Tara from MERS, who everybody knows, has been here a few times before. We sat down and we threw out some ideas on ways of funding it and a payment plan, and it's included in your packet. One of the ones that we came up with. We thought we'd go over that first, and then if you have any questions, Tara's here to discuss the finer details that we don't know the answers for. So what we did was we looked at this year's. We're required our required donation to MERS is $721,620. So instead of the shock of a big one-time donation, we looked at it as sort of a 7 to 10 year thing where we'll pick a number. Where what we did was we picked our peak date, and that number is 1.25 million. So we figured, well, why don't we pay that amount each year for the next 7 years, and so we'll be paying more. We won't be paying a big lump sum, but in total we'll be paying about comes out, see down at the bottom, the double line, we pay about 1.9 million extra in the next 7 years, and that would greatly reduce our payments in the future. After that, we'd hit the hump faster, and then we'd look a lot better once we got down into the past 2022, 23, 25. The way we looked at funding this was, again, to look at possibility of okaying that millage that was approved last year but not this year. We just put at this time, and it wouldn't have to be this, it could be funded different ways than this, but we just took electric fund money for this year for the extra $523,000, and you see after that the number would go down, and we'd be able to split that in any which way the commission thought was the correct way of doing it.
What funding level would this bring us to? At the end of this, would we 60% funded?
We haven't provided that projection.
We don't know.
Mhm.
But we can.
Mhm.
We can certainly do that. We have plenty of additional time.
There just wasn't enough time in the week between meeting and getting.
How long would it take you to be able to?
Our actuarial service CBIZ will provide the projection, and it takes them roughly 30 to 45 business days to turn something like that around.
All right, Eric, I'd mentioned, I was wondering what the benefit costs are going to be, going out 20 years. Is that something that you can do?
Yeah, so we had provided a budget projection based on the 20 years at the end of last year, looking at the next 20 years. However, with your division, you've only got one division over the 20-year amortization. So right now, you are set to be fully paid up with your unfunded liabilities as the way it is now, all assumptions being met. on 2 divisions at 9 years, on 1 division at 14 years. So with the new changes from our experience study, we have accelerated the amortization period, and we've changed it to a fixed amortization period, which means closed divisions are going to be fully funded in 10 years. We know that there'll be an additional liability if the market doesn't do well or the assumptions aren't met. That then would be spread out over another 10-year period of time. But right now, the way it stands with the city, the 2 divisions at 9 years and 1 division at 14 years, whatever the current unfunded liability is associated with those divisions will be fully paid up in that amount of time. So we can provide another budget projection.
Could I see the numbers? Because when I came up with the numbers, with what you had provided before, I don't know if did you share this with her?
Mhm.
Okay, it came up that we were, we were at 12 million, and then we're going down, in 2029, we're down to $10 million. And
Yeah.
it seems like we've got more retirees that are going to be collecting more money coming up in the future.
Right. So what happens with that is you've got your retirees and beneficiaries who are currently collecting and will be collecting as these active members go out of your defined benefit plan. Part of that is fully funded. It's been part of the required minimum that you've been paying. Part of it may be associated with the retirees, beneficiaries, and current active. So what we're saying now is based on what we know at the end of 12/31/15, the current liability that's right there at the end of that year is going to be fully paid up at whatever the amortization periods I just discussed. There was a 2 9-year periods, and 1 15-year period. You're going to be paying out probably a little bit longer than that if the market assumptions, if the market doesn't return or the demographics change within the city. So you're going to see some differences there. But yeah, you also still have that 1 division that's not fully closed out.
Right, so I'd like to see what the cost is going to be, because I've got this nice spreadsheet, and I realize I can make it even longer. So I'd like to see, because right now we've got $1.234 million for retirees in 2026. I'm wondering if that's going to continue. Is that going to increase? And the reason is because, your projections are based on, I believe it's the 7.75% return.
Absolutely.
And of course, for every percent that you're under that, we need to put in not only this money, but an additional $130,000. So that means if you're currently getting 5%, 5.75, we need to make this payment plus to keep on track an additional $260,000. So I'm wanting a little bit more information. I want to track this out several more years to see where we are.
Yeah.
And I would like to see it for each of the groups. Now the groups are so MERS has, instead of using the normal amortization, has speeded it up.
Yeah,
Is that allowed?
absolutely. So
It is, okay. I was just wondering, because I was looking at the Public Employee Retirement Act, and it seems that it's not addressed in that fashion. It pretty much leaves it up to you to decide.
So based on our board has fiduciary role over our retirement system.
So rather than doing 30 years, you've decided you're going to make it whatever you think is appropriate.
No. So we have been steadily decreasing our amortization period on open divisions. You are a little bit different because you're closed division funding policy. So open divisions was at 30 years system-wide. We've been decreasing that. We are at 23 years for open divisions, but on closed divisions, whatever you started at that amortization year, whenever you moved from defined benefit to defined contribution, you started accelerating at that point, and you were going down 2 years for every year. You were provided with a supplemental valuation that gave the information, not this commission, but who was here at that point in time, to give you an idea of what the projection was into the future. And so now with closed divisions, the amortization period is going to be fixed. It's always been decreasing 2 years for every year on option A. You guys are on option B, so you're going down 1 year for every year. But it's going to be over a 10-year period of time. We need to make sure that those liabilities for those retirees, beneficiaries, and any actives that have liability attached to them is fully paid up.
Thank you. I enjoyed the party line on that one. Okay. Well, I'd like to get a little bit more information on the long-term situation, because I know we're trying to knock down that peak. I'm just concerned if MERS is not performing, these numbers aren't going to hold water, and we're going to be in a really bad situation. So that's what I'd like to request is a little bit more on the timelines, and then also, I see that part of the contribution for the stabilization would come from the electric fund.
We just put that, we can divide that in any which way.
So we
that
can
you want.
actually divide that between the enterprise funds and the non-enterprise funds, can't we,
Yeah.
somehow?
We have the percentages figured out. We might look, if we do it that way, we might have to look at trimming those other funds in certain ways so that they'd be able to afford their portion.
Okay, well, that's what I'd like to do, is make sure that we follow the requirement, and so if we have the enterprise funds take care of those retirees that are in that group, and the ones that are in the other section take care of that from the taxes.
What about if you do this fund according to how you printed it here, or something similar to that? How safe is that fund to be used for what its purpose is? Which
Oh, to
stop another
protect.
commission or somebody else from saying, wow, you got all this money in there, or we're gonna do this, we don't want it there now, we're gonna change it. And how would that, and if that happened, how would that affect a decision we're gonna make today, 5 years from now when it changes? You know, I mean,
Different seated commission can do a different set of rules and make their own decision about that stabilization.
well, I know that, but is there a way of,
You can't tie the
Lock-
lines of your
you can't tie the citizens' money
control
to,
right now.
I wonder everybody spends kinda, just spend for today and don't worry about tomorrow. And that's what I see happening, you know, I mean, it just seems like, I don't know, I just,
Commissions at the time that decisions while they're needed. The commission
so there's no funds that can be locked in forever, or until something's paid off, a bill's paid off or anything. We can't earmark any decisions to make sure that this is fixed until it's not a problem anymore.
Well, there hasn't
You
been
can
a
earmark it.
total fiscal responsibility because the water and the wastewater and electric have budgeted for this. That's part of our budgeting process each year. As far as taking care of the other groups, that's just, we're gonna have to work out how we want to do that. The general fund, the big hit on them, and as we talked about before, was the funding from the state has been cut so bad, it's hard to fund everything that we have in public works now.
Well,
Because the retirement for the people that work on major streets and minor streets, local streets, that's all, that they supply to MERS also. And the solid waste fund supplies to MERS for the guy that works in the solid waste. So,
Well, I kind of agree with Commissioner O'Connor. I'd like more information, and I did email you 15 questions.
yep.
Okay, can I get written answers to them questions as far as getting more information? Because I think there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm not real familiar with, but I would like to make sure that any decision that we do make, it actually fixes the problem and it can't come back up in the future. And that's why I'm asking these questions here.
Yep, Vicki and I sat down and we can answer all of them, but it'd be easier to sit down and talk them over because there's different
Variables.
conditions. There's variables, and it would take me a week to type up the answers that would cover all the different variables.
Can I just interject for a minute here and talk, when you talk about, fixing for the future in terms of unfunded liabilities? So MERS, of course, with the defined benefit plans, we know that we only use assumptions on the defined benefit plan. So we don't know truly what happens in that plan until the end of the year. So that's why the rates change on an annual basis. You will not be fully paid up under your defined benefit plans, even if you close them out and move to defined contribution like you have, until all of your retirees and beneficiaries have passed away. So even for us to look at it and say, we think you're going to be fully paid up in X amount of years, we know now that the current unfunded liability as of 12/31/15 will be fully paid up at that point in time. 9 years on 2 divisions, 14 years on 1. But we don't know that if we don't make, a 7.75% return this year, we don't know what that unfunded liability will be the next year. So there's always going to be, this ever-changing liability amount, which could go positive, which could go negative. So I just wanted to make sure that was understood in terms of looking into the future. We can do our best and give you an actuarial to provide you that budget projection, but you're not going to know the true cost until all of your retirees and beneficiaries have passed.
Don't you ever figure it out like at 5%?
We do, and that calculation is provided in your annual valuation every year. So we gave you the annual valuation at the end of 12/31 was mailed to the city. And in that valuation, there's 3 different tiers. One is based on a 7.75 assumed rate of return, one's based on 6.75, and one's based on 5.75. And what that means is, we're saying if we don't hit our target of 7.75%, then this is what it would look like if it was at 6.75 or 5.75. So we have those built in. Our actuaries are building them out for about 5 years because we think that's a more realistic number than looking out 10 or 20 anymore. But if you want something further than that, we can certainly provide that to you.
What I was asking is, how come you're not more conservative and say, 5.5%? Because that's probably more of a realistic goal in today's market than 7 3/4. Or am I not looking at the same?
So that's a great point. A lot of people ask us that. There's a couple of reasons. So our 30-year rate of return, if you look back at the history of MERS and our total market fund, is still outperforming our benchmark. We're still at over 9%. We looked at it when we did our experience study the last time around, and we lowered the investment rate of return from 8% to 7.75 for many reasons. Other pension firms are doing the same thing, different states, all of those things. So number one, kind of following suit. Number two is we knew that if we dropped that to 5.75, many of our municipalities wouldn't be able to pay their bills, even their required minimum. Because if you look at that page, you will find that the required contributions go up dramatically from a 7.75 assumed rate of return to a 5.75. So
Yeah, but isn't that more realistic?
we don't know. We just don't
I mean,
know. at
every
this
time I
point.
go and invest, like a mutual fund, and I'm sure most of you just have, every perspective, they give you a look back of 30 years, and it's always higher
Yeah.
than what I'm looking at today, the last couple of years, last 5
Right.
years, 10 years.
Yeah.
It's a lot less, and and I know we probably can't afford if it's at 5 3/4, but it's real difficult to come up with a plan and taxing the people and getting money and raising rates or whatever to do something if it can't meet that expectation, even though it's did over 30 years. But what's it done over the last 5 years is what I'm looking at, trying to make a decision on how we spend our money.
Yeah, and so, looking back, even the 30-year rate of return, if you look at it, the average includes the 25% loss of 2008. So when you make your contribution to MERS, they go into the total market fund. That fund is invested. We can't be too aggressive with that fund because we need to pay out pensioners. We need to pay out the people here that are collecting their benefit. And so, we can't go too aggressive. We can't go too conservative because we still need to make money. That being said, 2/3 of our retiree income is still generated by the investment. So we still feel strongly that our investments are going to turn around and that we will be able to maintain that benchmark if we do the experience study, or our investment firm or our investment department and our board decides to change that. That would be up to them.
Does someone want to make a motion?
I move that we postpone any decision on the stabilization fund until we get a full commission. So hopefully So that would be next meeting.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner View to table this to the next council meeting. Any discussion?
I'm good. I don't know if that's enough time to get some stuff together, but we'll be another step closer.
Yes.
So let's, I don't want to put any more time in between any,
Well, you need to get certain
we need to
answers.
move, we need answers, but we need to continue to move forward on this, so.
All right, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I just
Aye.
want clarification, the motion was to postpone it, but there was a request for additional information. What additional information was, or is that part of
Oh, that's
I'm
not
just want to postpone any action.
it? Okay, so there's no
So
request.
next time, if we have something that.
And I had a separate
Otherwise,
issue
we'll
where
just-
I'd ask about running out the timeline for the beneficiaries a longer amount of time, just to see if it's increasing or decreasing. That's my concern, is based on the evaluation. I'm not sure how old people are that used to work here. Some people know everybody. And, are we going to be flat, or are the benefits going to go up? So that's what I'm wondering.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that
Yeah,
no
just-
additional information until next meeting, and we just had, okay.
If we don't have the information from MERS,
Well, we can
We can
deal with it then.
Okay.
We can move it out to the next meeting after that.
Yeah, because by next time, we'll know more about which part is enterprise funds, which part is not, and
Okay.
kind of have more of a game plan.
All right, now is a joint meeting, set joint meeting with the DDA.
We didn't vote yet.
We haven't voted yet.
Yes, I did. Well, I said it all, and then, well, I'll do it again. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Are we going to have discussion on this?
No, we're not talking about that DDA thing. We're talking about that.
Oh, aye,
We slipped it by you.
whatever. What?
That was for the last,
All right.
to the next meeting for the.
Next is set
Okay.
the joint meeting with DDA for DDA amendment.
Renee is
Is
on vacation with her family this week, and so Kim and I would be filling in if you have any questions. At the DDA meeting, they discussed this quite a bit, and they'd like to set up a meeting with the commission and to go over thoughts on amending or creating a new DDA plan. The date they said worked for them was August 29th at 5 p.m., but it's with the commissioner's choice if they want to figure out a different date.
Well, can I ask a question where we are currently with it? So did we do the forms to the state tax commission? That's a Vicky. Those are in? For the DDA, did we shoot the state tax commission their forms they needed? Okay. Did we get a copy too, or we got involved, right? It says submission to the governing body. You want to submit that next time around? Thank you. Okay. Did we publish those results in the paper?
We have the, Renee, I believe, did do the summary. I don't have a publication date. We'd have to verify that with her.
Okay, so it'll be by next meeting.
Sure, we can give you that information next
Okay.
meeting.
The one thing with the DDA, and I might as well bring it up right now, is that I'd like us to recapture the city tax portion of the tax dollars, because we are definitely going to be needing every dollar we can get. So I know that basically the way it is we've got $140,000 about that goes from the city, that's the city capture, and the county data and all those others put in about 110. So I'm not sure how to make this a motion, or just kind of the ground rules. That's what I'm looking at as far as how much money they would have. And I'm wondering, is that a problem? Is that
That would be what you want, but it'd have to be from the whole commission.
well? That's what I'm wondering for the commission.
Or
Is
a
that
majority of the commission.
something that? I mean, if we're going to have a joint meeting, we're going to talk about dollars and projects. We got to know how much.
What are you asking for?
Well, we have the option when we do the new, if we do the new addendum, I'm looking for us to basically recapture the tax dollars. So rather than the city giving the money to the DDA, it would stay in the general fund.
how does that affect the DDA?
Well, they'd have
Outside
less,
of- Would other entities have options? Are we restructuring it when we do that, or?
no, they'd still get the county part, they'd still get the data, they'd get those portions. It's just the city we would keep our own.
Just being done anywhere else.
And you can just do that here?
Most places, because most DDAs now, the cities have as, you know how it is when you run out of money? All of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, what can we, recapture? This is the easiest way to capture money that is not in the general tax revenue. Once it goes to the DDA, of course, the purpose is to do things that the city can't do, as far as building restorations, the facade grants, those kind of things.
So how do you proceed with what you want to do?
Well, I just want to get a read. That's what I'm looking at, is if we're going to have a joint meeting, we're going to talk about projects and how much money. If they're looking at, $250,000 instead of 110,000, that's a big difference as far as what can be done.
I'd like to include them in that discussion and then come back here.
Okay, well, would you be willing to give them, that money?
You let them keep it?
Yeah.
I guess
Your
I'd
budget?
like to better understand exactly what that means when you take it away.
Well, it can't be used for tax purposes. That's
Mhm.
I'm looking at, our shortfall here, and that's extra money, so. But you want to let that, okay, if you want to let that go for discussion for the DA, that'd be fine.
I'd just like to,
I think it'd
you
be
know,
better if we
have
just
them
have
be
that
part of it.
discussion, yeah.
Okay, that's just what I'm going to be pushing for, because
Mhm.
What's the benefit to the city if we don't get that money? That's an extra,
Mhm.
extra money we have to come up with somewhere. Of course, by next meeting, well, this is going to be this next week. By the next meeting, we'll probably know more where we are as far as the MERS, as far as the tax side versus enterprise.
Mhm.
All right. I'm done discussing.
Does someone want to make a motion then to set a joint meeting?
Does this date work out okay?
What day is that?
It's on a
Monday.
This would be a Monday, the 29th, week from tonight.
Week from tonight.
What time?
5. That works fine with me. Anytime on Monday is okay.
Yeah, it works for me.
Works for me.
I'll make the motion then. We have set a joint meeting with the DDA August 29th, 2016 at 5 p.m. at City Hall or DDA?
I'd say City Hall.
City
At City
Hall.
Hall?
It's hard to hear in that building.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know if you wanted to meet in there
Oh, yeah.
at City Hall.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner View, support by Commissioner O'Connor to have a DDA City Council meeting for August 29th at 5 o'clock. Any more discussion?
I just want to, I don't know if I can make it or not. I'm hoping to, even though I made the motion. I got to check my schedule. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we're not sure about Dave either, so
Yeah.
we'll just see.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next is appoint Commissioner O'Connor to the Utility Committee.
We have a committee, a utility committee. We meet, once a month to go over, our shut-off policy, and if somebody's requesting a credit for a broken pipe, or going over the different policies and the rates and whatnot, and then we make recommendations to the commission. We thought it'd be advantageous to have one commissioner on that board when we go through and make decisions. And just so happened at our last meeting, Commissioner O'Connor was sitting right next to us and asking questions, so we sort of nominated him.
See, yeah. Thought you think I would learn from that, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'll move that we appoint Commissioner O'Connor to the Utility Committee.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner View, support by Commissioner Thompson to appoint Commissioner O'Connor to the Utility Committee. Any discussion?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to bring up is, I think he'll do good on that committee. I've talked to him about it, but is there a policy or practice that we use? Like, I think Joe would have been good on the committee too, because of his experience in utilities, where maybe there might be a commissioner that wants to take it over someone that was there and it looks like he's interested in it, where we can kind of let it known, which commissioners would be interested in serving on additional stuff. Do we have a, or is it just, if you're there, you're involved, we'll recommend you, or can another commissioner say he would be interested in something?
There's no policy. The practice has been if there is an item or some topic or whatever committee that needs a liaison of the city commission
right.
to be there, it is discussed at your table of who that person would be. But there's no formal written policy or practice
Okay.
of what.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it came that,
Mm-hmm.
staff recommended him, and I didn't know if Joe had an opportunity. Not that he would took it. No, I know, but I'm just saying, you never know.
In this instance, there's never been a commissioner on that committee, but in other committees, there have been, if somebody serves as the liaison. There's certain ones that are always, like the mayor is appointed on the DDA board, so that's the liaison. Others who have an interest in planning, and development, they volunteer to serve on that one. It's pretty much decided at your table.
Good. Point 2, is that open to the public?
All of our meetings are open to the public except internal staff. Obviously, they're not bound by the Open Meetings Act, but if it's a committee and there's a commissioner appointed.
Is that
yeah.
posted, that meeting?
That
No.
meeting isn't open to the public.
It's not open because they're not making decisions, they're making recommendations to you, so they're not, it is their role to do their job, they're doing their job, but it's not the commission, it's not the whatever, but the public can attend if they so choose to show up at City Hall, but it is not required in the Open Meetings Act, even with a commissioner appointed at
I
it.
mean, at the utility committee meeting, the public can attend?
I don't know if you've ever had a request for it, but
I'm
it is
just
not.
asking. I've had people ask me. I wanted to
Yeah,
know
we've had
There-
people.
There are some, we go over some personal billing conditions that we're in the middle of with different.
You don't
different-
mention names, though, do you?
Different customers.
Absolutely, they have to do their
Yeah.
job for that.
So utility committee meetings are not able to be attended by anyone from the public?
Staff doing our jobs and our role is not required for
Well, I'm
the
not
Open
asking
Meetings
that.
Act. But that committee meeting, that utility committee meeting is to do their jobs. You're asking to place a commissioner on there for information as a liaison. That doesn't make it into the Open Meetings Act as a requirement still.
That's fine. That's all I wanted to know, make sure.
There's
I can
other
tell
things
them
that
they're
we
not
do our
allowed there.
jobs on and that are not required to be open to the public for various reasons.
If they have any questions or if they wanted to address us, that there wouldn't be a problem before we went through all the shut-off.
Correct, yeah,
From
that's,
the public. It's just, there's a part where we go through shut-off notices and payment plans and stuff like that. That's
Okay.
not-
I mean, I don't care personally, but
Yeah.
I'd like to at least give them the right answer that what he's
if
allowed to do.
somebody's concerned about an activity or a meeting that is happening, they can always submit a written FOIA request of information that they want. But, yeah, not everything that we do is open to the public.
All right, so all those in favor of appointing Commissioner Connor to the Utility Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next is the trail easement revision.
Okay, the background on this one is May 9th, 2016, Manager Falcon at the time presented to the commission a snowmobile trail easement with the Department of Natural Resources and the City of Gladstone. The proposed agreement at that time was drafted by Attorney Don Bacon for the city. A little bit of history on that is Manager Falcon had worked with the Snow Flyers, which was a local snowmobile group in our community, who groomed the trail annually. This agreement went before the Planning Commission in November of 2015, where they recommended the agreement to the City Commission, and the agreement was approved at the May 9th, 2016 Commission meeting. It was passed on to the DNR, and they submitted it back. They are required to have some revisions in the agreement before they can accept it. Survey documents are unchanged, so that did not come into play at all. But the changes in the agreement that the DNR requested are highlighted in yellow in your packet. And the reference to snowmobile trail has been changed to read trail easement. We did find on page 2, we did miss one of the snowmobile terms, so that is not highlighted in yellow. But number 5, where it says future development of land may be impacted by this snowmobile route, we would change that to by this trail.
Has
And
this
the
been-
other 2, I'm sorry.
Has this been back to the planning commission, though?
It had not. It wasn't necessarily required to go to the planning commission, but the manager at the time took it to inform them. It wasn't a requirement.
Well, I was at this meeting when this was discussed,
Mhm.
and I really think it should go back to them to see these proposed changes.
The proposed changes are that it needed to be, even though there was no money transaction, to show for a sum of whatever that may be, and it was 0. And then to number 7, this conveyance is exempt from state and county transfer tax pursuant to MCL 207.526A and MCL 207.505A. Like I said, the surveys and the route, nothing of that changed in nature, but they need those requirements in there before they could accept it.
But taking the word snowmobile out and just making it a trail opens it up to a lot of different things,
Everything.
correct? I mean, it could be used for other than snowmobiles then.
I can
Yeah, 'cause
answer
there's
There's
to
nothing
that.
that specifically states that it's just a snowmobile trail anymore. And I'd really like to see what the planning commission, what their thoughts are on that.
We have a representative from the Snow Flyers group that could maybe answer that. I cannot answer that.
Mike Kennedy with the UP Snow Flyers. The reason the DNR does not want the word snowmobile in there, when they're doing permanent easements, they like to just keep it as trail or recreational trail. That opens them up in the future to be a multi-use trail, whether it be snowmobiling, walking, biking, ORV. And that was their reason for wanting the wording change.
And you don't mind that?
No.
Your club doesn't?
No, absolutely not. That's the better way to
Okay.
do it,
The
actually.
planning commission was concerned about this trail though, because it passes so close to that residential area. And, you know, there's a big difference between the winter when you got your windows all closed up and the summer, if it's open to ORVs. 'Cause, you know, I mean, we could have dirt bikes on there, all
Right.
kinds of stuff. And I mean, it's pretty close proximity, and I know that was a big topic of discussion. That's why, you know, before these changes are made, I would like to see this go back to the planning commission just to make sure that, you know, that they're okay with this, because I know it came from them.
Make a motion.
Yeah. I think I'd like to move that we send this back to the planning commission just to make sure they're okay with it, to give us their recommendations on what they think about these language changes. And I'm not opposed to a snowmobile trail. I think that'd be fine.
Have there been any issues with four-wheelers up?
No, we relocated that trail here about 10 years ago to keep it away from the one house that was built in close proximity, and they've had no problems with it since.
And it's still staying exactly where it's at? I thought it was moving, though. It
No,
was a route change.
there was a route change about 10 years ago. That map may not be quite accurate that you have.
There is no map with it. The surveys weren't changed.
All right, we have a motion, just someone want to second?
What, before
Well, I should probably just have someone second it first, just
I'll second it.
to, okay, now we can have a
How
discussion.
close, Mike, is this to the nearest house there?
As it sits, probably 300 yards.
That's a pretty good distance.
there just that one house, remember?
Well, there's a whole subdivision in there, and it kind of cuts through at an angle, so.
I guess there's a couple
Yeah.
close, and then they get farther away.
Does this have to be done quickly? Is there a reason, does it make a difference if it's held up a month or not? I just want to ask, is there something being planned or?
They have to have it approved by the Natural Resources Commission. I think they wanted to do it at their September meeting.
Okay.
If we don't
So-
get it back to them, well, they'll have to wait.
What would happen if it didn't get back to them right away? I mean,
I have no idea.
So
I'm
once-
sure it would just be postponed.
So once we do this, there's really no out either,
yeah, if they don't use it for a trail,
you know? I mean, the city reserves the right to relocate it, but,
the easement shall continue so long as the purpose stated herein are continued by the guarantee.
mhm.
So if they quit using it, there's something that comes back.
This is hard to remember back that far, but I thought it was moving to make it more conducive to development. It wasn't gonna be in exactly the same spot.
We are willing to move it around on that parcel, to accommodate future development or whatever.
Does that go through be off the back of Mulberry Circle?
Right,
There then?
exactly.
I don't know, I'd feel a lot better if the planning commission had looked at this. I mean, if it's just this little bit of language that's changing here.
Well, it's going from a snowmobile to a regular trail, which means it's open for
Well, and
everything,
I
so.
don't know if that's the intent is to open it up to ORVs, but I'm sure ORVs are using it now, right?
Yes, they are.
And Paul, did we had any complaints about ORVs up there, you know? You know, off the top of your head?
We have in the past, I mean, we've had complaints about snowmobiles, and we've had, I mean, it's hit or miss. I mean, it's not a continual complaint.
Not a chronic problem or anything?
No, it's based on the riding practices.
I guess I'd be willing to withdraw my motion to send this back to the planning commission then.
To withdraw or amend? I didn't hear.
Withdraw.
I shall support your withdrawal.
Then I'll move that we approve the permanent trail easement agreement with the DNR as written here.
Give me a second again, is that my job?
Yep.
I'll second.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner View, support by Commissioner O'Connor to approve the revised trail easement as presented. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next is wastewater boiler bid award.
Yeah, we were trying to get this boiler system in this spring before the end of last year's budget, but we just couldn't squeeze it in because of other things that were going on. Our plan is, we have a large old Wild McLean boiler that we've kept running. It's a dual fuel, it runs on natural gas and methane. Saves us a lot of money. We can burn methane to heat the plant, and we also use it, the main reason actually, most of our BTUs gets used for heating up the sludge, so the sludge breaks down to a safe level so we can apply it to our forest land. And so we've worked with Steve Frazier for 20 plus years on, he's the expert on that boiler system, and we put it out on bids, and I got we put it in the newspaper, and I personally called the 3 contractors that have worked on it, and I got 2 prices back. One was late, but it was higher than Mr. Frazier, so I just, because it didn't come in time, I just put Frazier Mechanical in. What we're going to do is put 2 small boilers in the garage, which will be, the garage is heated through the tubing in the floor, and so that'll heat the floor, plus we'll continue using the old boiler until we're going to spec out a methane-only boiler, or if we can figure out something through WPPI, micro turbines or something like that that would be more efficient. We're going to way of using the methane gas, but we'll use these 2 boilers will be used for heating the plant in the greenhouse, and in an emergency situation for heating up the sludge. Then the next year or so, probably because we're up for the SAW grant, when we win and if we get picked next month, we can start on that, and the methane boiler would be part of a digester rehabilitation project when we go through and rehab the plant. Anyway, at this time, the boiler is in such a condition that we're worried it won't make it through another winter or so. So we want to put 2 new small boilers in the garage, so we have a backup. Are there any other questions?
You said it was supposed to be installed this last spring?
I
You
didn't
get a
have.
budget for it?
I budgeted for last year.
Oh,
and
last year.
Yeah, it was left in the budget, and so it was a budget surplus. So that money is there in fund balance. I'll just have to amend the budget because it's going to be done in this year.
That's lowest best bid, correct?
Yeah.
And these 2 boilers will be able to do everything if the other goes down then?
Yep. If the other one goes down, we'll be able to do one boiler will be able to just heat the plant, and the greenhouse in the springtime, and the garage floor. And if for some reason the old boiler that we want to replace in the near future dies, we'll be able to heat the digester also by running the second boiler. So
And that'll run on the same product the old one does?
that'll run all on natural gas. A methane boiler,
You don't get them anymore?
you can, and we're researching it. The dairy farmers there's some really cool methane boilers down in Wisconsin. So just doing a lot of research. We want to make sure we get the right one. Methane's
How much money does that save us, the methane boiler?
our average during the cold winter. Our average bills it saves us about $1,000 a month off our heating bill.
What do you do with the methane if you can't burn it in the boiler?
We burn it off the top.
Flame?
Yeah. Unfortunately, but it's too dangerous to store it because if you store it and it gets mixed with the wrong amount of oxygen, you create a bomb.
So this will be a backup if that methane boiler does go down
Yeah.
as a heat source. I move that we award the bid to Frazier Mechanical.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner View to award the bid to Frazier Mechanical. Any more discussion?
Where's Frazier Mechanical out of?
Gladstone.
Gladstone.
Why, it's,
I assume we want to have is that freeze up.
Yeah. So, he's the one who installed the boilers in City Hall here.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Next is repeal ordinance number 593, parking and storage of recreational vehicle.
At the last meeting, it was brought up that we wanted to repeal ordinance number 593. We did a little research, and I guess we need some direction on specifics. If you want to amend it or rewrite the amendment or rewrite the ordinance, visit it and fine tune it, we can do that. But if a total repeal with no replacement would require a vote of the people. So it'd be up to the commission on what they're.
I guess what I'd like to do is make a motion that we send this ordinance back to a committee and have that committee bring some recommendations rather than try to, rewrite this in the next hour.
Yeah.
Who brought this up? You said you did
My
some
name's on it,
research.
so, I was just looking from the complaints and also Dave, we're looking at, I think it was the corner lots. A lot of people with corner lots, both sides are front yards, so you can't have any vehicles there. So we're looking at, is there a way we could provide some space for people that are on corner lots to have that? Right now, the side and rear storage, there's a 5-foot requirement on the sides and the back. If that could be reduced to 2 feet. So just those kind of things. Can we get some more flexibility for people that are on corner lots to do this?
Non-conforming lots, too.
And especially non-conforming lots, because when you get into the downtown area here, there is no space. The houses are really,
I got a foot on
Packed
the
in
side
there.
of my house.
don't tear that house
Joe,
down.
are you looking for the same
So-
committee that did the last one?
Well, can we,
Do it.
could this be,
I was on the committee the last time.
Right.
I think it would be good to have somebody with a different perspective on there this time.
So what do you want, Mike?
I was just wondering if we could assign this to an existing committee that exists, but I guess we're looking for a new one.
The committee doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I mean,
It was disbanded when it was done. I think a new committee would be.
so we're getting the band back together.
Who was on the committee?
I don't remember. It's in a lot of the paperwork. I mean, it was easy to find. It was before
I know Butch was on it, because I remember.
I wasn't a commissioner.
Oh, some
then.
citizens,
Yeah,
some
some citizens.
commissioners.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a citizen when I was on it.
Right.
You were.
See what happened? You showed up too often.
I was not exactly
We have a motion and a
a
second.
proponent.
Do we have a second?
You don't,
No.
you don't have, I mean,
We have a-
Commissioner Thompson was talking about making a motion. I don't know if
I
you
made
officially
a-
did them
He did
Made a
make a
motion
motion.
to send it to a,
to a committee,
To a
but
committee.
not as defined of who
Well,
that
let's step
committee
one
is.
is show form a committee. I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner O'Connor to send this to a committee to look at.
I need to know who the committee is, because otherwise who do I give
Right.
it to?
Well, that would be the second step, is then we'd say who's on the committee.
Okay. In our, okay.
All right, any more discussion on that?
I think, the committee should, I think.
Well, two
Director Guy-
commissioners.
Director
and-
Guyer maybe want to be on that committee.
Yep.
I know he gave a lot of input into the original. There are some public safety concerns.
And see if Butch Irving wants to get back on that one.
Just
It
ask
was a good
us.
one. Right, no, I'm
Well,
just saying he was on.
I was thinking just 2 commissioners, then they could bring in people if they need to.
Okay, yeah,
So
but I
that-
mean, it'd
so
be
we
good
could
if we had
expedite
some
this instead of-
citizens on here too,
We don't want their input.
though. All right.
Jay, you look sad when I said that. No, it's just hard to know which people. If some people would like to call City Hall and say that they would be interested, that'd be nice. I think we should have a couple citizens on there, 2 commissioners.
There was some planning commission members that were on
Yep.
there last time. I think
Yeah.
Elker Strum was on there. I don't remember who else.
It's not to rate the whole thing, but
Right.
try to get some little variance for.
Because now there's been some history, so now we can say how's this working.
just have a recommendation to come back to what we can discuss. I really don't want to discuss this whole ordinance again in commission meetings.
Could you restate the motion? I have a first by Thompson, second by O'Connor to send it back to a committee. I'm not quite sure if it's part of the motion or if it was just discussion, but Director Geyer, Butch Irving, open to the public, some planning commission members.
I think we should solicit a committee of people that want to be on there. I think we should force anybody that doesn't want to do it.
Should they define the committee makeup? So many
Right, that's what I
staff, commissioners.
Staff, commissioners,
public,
planning commission,
to
citizens.
Previous times when they did the thing, they did by title or by department, a representative. They didn't name the people in case they could not be on it for whatever reason, but,
Say at least, what, 2 commissioners, maybe 1 planning commission?
That's fine.
Maybe 2 citizens,
That sounds good.
Yeah. Sounds good
and
to me.
public safety representative, and city manager, but also
community development.
community development.
Mhm.
You want me on there? I'll have to turn a bunch of people in.
All right, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is MML Annual Meeting Voting Delegate and Alternate.
Annual meeting, September 14th and 15th, and Mayor Boswick and Commissioner View are attending, and it's customary to appoint them as voting delegate and alternate for the conference.
I move that we appoint Mayor Bostwick as the voting delegate and Commissioner View as the alternate for the MML annual conference.
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner O'Connor. Appoint myself as a voting delegate, and Commissioner View as the alternate. Any discussion?
Bring back chocolate.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I didn't get, who seconded that? I had to step out to call the attorney.
Commissioner O'Connor. All right, next is introduction and proposed ordinance number 601 rezoning.
Do you want me to be Renee, or do you want to be Renee?
I can be Renee. This is to introduce proposed ordinance number 601, which is a rezoning request for parcel numbers 21-052, 622-001-50, and 052, 622-001-60. I cannot read the legal description because it is a meets and bounds description, but they are enclosed in the proposed ordinance. This would be a rezoning request from R3, which is multifamily residential, to the B2 commercial. It was submitted to the city to have the parcels rezoned to prepare the property for future development. The rezoning request will, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this rezoning request at their regular August 16th meeting. A public hearing was conducted at that time with public notice provided to those within 300 feet of the property, as is required. Only one public hearing is required for a rezoning request, but the City Commission reserves the right to hold an additional hearing, if so desired, to consider public opinion prior to them making a decision. Past precedent has been that only the Planning Commission held the public hearing, and that a second one was not necessary. That is your choice. The Planning Commission meeting minutes are approved in there, which reflect the information and comments noted by the public. And that is about it. She included all the information that was presented at their public hearing in the packet. And the very last thing is the proposed ordinance 601 with the language. This is an introduction before you. You cannot approve an ordinance in the same night that you introduce it. So it would have to be set for the next meeting to be considered for adoption. The question being whether you would like to hold another public hearing or not.
How much of a public hearing was there?
How much?
There-
I mean, how many people spoke?
There were 3 people there. One is here tonight,
Yeah.
Bob, and 2 of his neighbors. I know the Tardifs were pretty much what Bob talked about earlier. He thought it'd be better bang for tax dollars if we were to develop a subdivision on that property, get more tax money, and he was worried about traffic on the road and the safety features of the traffic on 9th Street. And his neighbor, Mr. Brock, had the same worries, plus his big worry was he was going to lose his alley, and we assured him he wouldn't be losing his alley. It was across the street. I think that was everything.
If we decide to have a public hearing, we could still approve this in the same evening, right?
Correct, right. It would just be an additional notification. The public hearing for the city commission does not require the 300 feet. That it would just be a publication in the newspaper for the ordinance.
There's really nothing harmed by having a public hearing.
No, just another ad and a little bit of your time. So, nope. It can go either way. It's just not required. But.
If you look on the last picture that Renee put in here that has the new lot, vacate, and the easement in the road, that's this picture here. This is closest so far to what we're looking at. So South Court would be extended all the way down to the new road, which would have to name, and that would intersect with 4th. So pretty close to where the old alleyway used to go through there. And it'd be creating possible new lot on the corner, and then one across the street, a bigger lot. We also have a couple little small things off the back of the 2 homes on South Court that we'd probably look at seeing if those property owners wanted that property.
On this picture, is a future developer in that development there in the middle, are they buying that whole thing, that square? That looks like it's right in the middle of everything, like, so they can develop that whole setup is gonna be
Yep,
rezoned?
there'd be this whole piece of property would be, the planning commission talked about that. I asked Renee again, I said, well, what about these lots up here? We probably want those to be residential. And she said, because they haven't been plotted out as lots right now, it's easier to go through and do the zoning change now for the whole piece of property and go back after this little piece of property's been laid out with the roads and the property lines, and then at that time, if we want residential on those 2 lots, to change them back to residential.
So all of this will be parking lot? The only development there will be this, if they decide to, would be this building here?
Some of it can only be
Yeah.
parking lot because it's under the power lines.
Yeah,
Well, you know what I'm saying, it's a
Yep.
big piece of property, and it's,
Yeah.
But
I'm
it's
just
kind of
kinda-
deceiving with that power easement going
This
through there.
building isn't exactly to scale either.
Oh.
It's the building that they're looking at is slightly bigger than that, and they'll be parking the customer parking would be over here, and
is that all the land we have there on that north shore?
yep.
So whatever comes in there, this will be the big development for that property.
Yeah.
Other property that can be developed down there,
This is property.
though. Other people, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a
property-
lot of property to the water.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's-
you mean the
but That's
Bessie's?
Bessie and the coal
Mhm.
company.
Yeah.
Bessie owns some property, then the coal docks owns a big chunk of property, and then we own another property in front of the coal docks property that butts up to Delta Avenue. And like we were talking about earlier, the overall plan is to bring this road in here once we can figure out, get a good private-public partnership going, so we can develop this property and bring it out back onto Delta Avenue. Would bring the,
Where that easement is there?
um,
What's that for?
It's the power lines.
Oh, that's the power line?
Which easement?
oh, no,
no,
that
not
dark
that one.
easement. Yeah, that was just a potential,
Road?
either road and/or sewer easement, water sewer easement, so.
This
This is-
zoning change, is that in the master plan? This is something that we wanted to do with that property, and it needs to be done in order for a sale to happen with any developer. They want to make sure they can utilize the property, correct?
This is consistent with the future plan. Yep,
That area.
correct. Mhm.
So even if they don't buy it, it'd still be advantageous to have it rezoned now anyways.
It would make it consistent with what your future plan wants to see there. Just one less step that you'd have to go through if you have another developer.
I'll make a motion that we have a public hearing on for the commission on the introduce of ordinance number 601 at the next commission meeting for the rezoning as written here.
I'll support that.
All right, motion by Commissioner View, support by Commissioner Thompson, to have a public hearing at the September 12th meeting for the rezoning of this ordinance. Any more discussion?
I just want to see if them people that talked at the other meeting are interested enough to come and talk here, and I want to hear what they have to say, so that's why I'm doing it.
All right, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next is sale of land.
Being at the interim city manager, this is all new to me, negotiating with a developer for property. Renee and Kim and I have been working with them. I guess now that the property has been identified and plotted out, they're asking for permission to begin formal negotiations with them. Anything that we've already met with members from the Planning Commission and Commissioner O'Connor with ideas on what they feel is acceptable and not acceptable for bargaining with them in regards to the property. So what I need right now is permission for us to start negotiating with them in a more formal setting, and before anything gets approved, it'll come back to the commission, and everything will be above the table in regards to whether it's utilities or TIF money or whatever, or nothing at all that gets bargained away.
We do utilize appraisers or market analysis and realtors and stuff like that, so that we have a good idea on the value of this land instead of just guessing ourselves or not, because we're not experts, or you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay.
From the,
I think that's important for
from
the
my
public to
from the
hear.
best of my what I've dug up in the files, because negotiations started long before I was up here. That the property was appraised at $38,000, and I don't know if that was a formal appraisal or if it might have come from our assessor. I haven't been able to find everything on it. But we will do that before we sell the property.
Well, I think it's important,
Yeah.
it was brought up at our open forum, that citizens are concerned that we get
Mhm.
some value of, the true value of the property,
Yeah.
at least known before we negotiate.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I'll move that the city manager, the acting city manager pursue the negotiations of the sale of land 3.21 acres.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Muse, support by Commissioner Thompson to allow the city manager to enter into negotiation for the sale of the 3.21 acres. Any more discussion?
The only other thing I just thought of, and maybe it ain't nothing, but this is consistent with the selling of property that, you know, like if we don't, the property's always been up for sale, correct?
It has not, per the sale of the land policy, this is consistent with that.
I mean,
That
what
whole
if somebody
idea-
else wants to say, hey, I want to negotiate too? That's,
Right.
I'm
It
just
is
trying
now-
to cover somebody.
It is now officially, if you approve this motion, is officially being put up
Anybody.
for sale.
For sale.
So
Okay.
if this proposed development does not happen, it is now officially on the sale of land list. So you've complied with the sale of land policy that is in place.
I mean, can two entities be negotiated at the same time and we take the highest bidder? Not that it's going to happen because we've been waiting years for this. I'm just trying to figure out, is it exclusive only this person?
It would
This
come
is-
before the commission, right? We would decide.
Right, you would ultimately decide if
If
you
it
have
makes-
two developers that are
It may not just come down to price.
correct.
It may be whatever's in the best interest of the city.
No, I agree.
We have to look at the tax value. They're going to be,
I just don't want
It
it
is
to come
a-
back that there's somebody else saying, well, we want
Yeah.
the same opportunity. I just wanted to make sure that,
What this does is, per your sale of land policy, it puts that on that list officially. You are
anyone can ask for it.
authorizing the
Yep.
manager to go out and
Sue.
sell it. So a proposal will come before you for a potential sale. You know, if this one falls through and another one comes, he already has the authority to sell it.
We
So
didn't have the authority before.
It was not on the sale land. It was always talked about, it would like to be, but, so
Well, it's
this
good.
makes it official per
Okay.
the policy.
All right, so any more discussion?
the other plate, if you look on the actual plot of the 3.21 acres, you can see where the 69 line goes through, the large electric line goes through. That's pretty much locks that piece where it's going to have to be something
Oh, that one, yeah.
for parking. And down in the northwest corner, that's the existing playground. And will probably be, that's another thing they're going to help, will be in the negotiations of getting some help in finances and moving that. Moving a playground takes a vote of the people unless you keep it in the same neighborhood. So we're going to keep it either on the lot next door to that or see if we can, if there's any property over by public safety that we can use. But it's going to be kept, it'll be right in that same neighborhood. The playground gets quite a bit of use.
All right, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is authorize grant application to the DNR Aquatic Habitat.
You know, every year we get a lot of people that, you look at that lagoon and then we have such a beautiful harbor and a beautiful beach, and you look at that lagoon and it's just a cesspool. And so we've been on a watch list for something, for trying to get some grant water to clean up our storm water and get that lagoon cleaned up and make it a nice little fishing habitat for kids to go down to and fish again. And I got emailed this last week, and Nicole and I have been sort of wrestling about whether to do it or not, because we have a lot on our plates right now, but I think she's made a decision.
I still have it. The grant application is due by Friday, so I do need permission to apply for the grant. If we are successful at getting the grant, it'll come back to you and you'll have to accept the grant. So this is just saying that you're going to allow me to write the grant. The grant is a minimum of $25,000, and they are giving away $1.5 million in grant dollars. What's unusual about this grant is that it's a 90% to a 10% match, and the 10% match will be in-kind services, and those in-kind services can go all the way up to 30%. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing. So we can use city workers for our 10% match. We can also pay our city workers up to 30% of the grant to do some of the work. So this is one of those grants that you're going to be addressing a storm sewer problem that we have, fixing a lagoon problem that we have, and we'll actually be able to bring money into the city to offset some of the cost associated with our city labor. This is one of those really good grants. However, it is due on Friday. And construction and the project would be taking place in the spring. And of course, as you know, we're going to be very busy in the spring. So we've been kind of wrestling around with it, and to be perfectly honest, to put a grant application together in 3 days is a little bit difficult. Well, it'll be very difficult, and I don't even know if I will be able to do it in the manner and the time that it requires to be successful. But it's one of those grants where you can almost, we're going to have to pay to get the stormwater fixed eventually. They plan on doing it. We have a residual effect that the lagoon gets to get cleaned out, plus we get to offset some of the city wages. So yeah, me and Eric have been kind of going through it, and so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try if you will allow me to apply for the grant. But like I said, I don't know how successful I'm going to be, and it would have to come back to you once again for acceptance of the grant.
By the time we got to that point too, I know the Gladstone Lions Club, this has been one of their two projects they're very interested in making happening and raising funds for. And also on the fisheries, I'm sure the Fisheries Trust Fund would love this or help work on it later to help develop that habitat more for fishing, for kids fishing down there.
This grant would just address two issues: the storm sewer going into the lagoon and dredging of the lagoon. Any other projects up above that would be service organizations or whomever would like to get and maybe decorate the island, maybe create some fish habitat within the lagoon area and things like that. This is really a infrastructure grant with a recreational spin. As you know, there's tons of recreational grants out there. I'm always up in front of you asking you to apply. This is one of those grants that can actually help with some infrastructure also.
I see how much you're applying for. How much does it cost to do what you want to do?
Well, we're getting all the figures in right now, and to dredge the lagoon, I had one estimate at anywhere from $70,000 to $90,000, and depending on what kind of vortexes we use to address the storm sewer, that can go all the way up to $300,000.
You ask for more?
I would be comfortable probably asking for $300,000. I'm working with Barry Lund right now to try to figure out a different type of stormwater sewer system that would be a little bit less expensive and still do the same job as being able to catch the sediment before it goes into the lagoon. And then, as you can see, if you go down to the lagoon, our water levels are rising. That storm sewer is slowly but surely getting, the water's, halfway up the storm. There's always if we don't reposition those storm sewers in the olden days, like in the 80s, some of that water ran back up. So we'd like to reposition them, make them right, and then plus put vortexes in so we can keep the lagoon clean.
You mentioned $25,000.
That's the minimal. That's the minimal amount you can apply for.
Oh, that's the minimum amount.
For the grant, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to apply for $200,000.
I'm going to probably apply for $325,000, but I'm still waiting for costs to come in.
So is this the 2015 round of grant funding?
Say it again?
The attached page, it said this is the 2015 round of grant funding, or the $1.25 million will be available.
Yes, and it'll be awarded, and then the grants would be done within, usually they give you 2-year time limit.
Okay, has any of that money been, if any of that's been given to other projects?
No.
Okay, so it's still open funding.
Until Friday.
Okay, till Friday, then they'll evaluate all the bids.
Yes.
Or requests, yeah.
And like I said, it's a substantial grant, so I mean, I don't even know if I can do it by Friday. And I was going to take it off, and I don't know, it's free money. I know.
There's 7 old storms that go into the lagoon, and there used to be old sanitary sewers that went in the lagoon in the old days. Hopefully we won't find any of those.
Barry and I are discussing combining some of the storm sewers that go into the lagoon, so we don't have as many going in, and then they would go into those vortexes and then empty out in the lagoon. The lagoon was built years and years and years ago for this purpose, to catch stormwater, to catch debris, but it has turned out to be a very visual part of our park. So if we could clean it up and have somebody else pay for it.
So actually, this isn't gonna cost the city any money, the way you
Actu-
got it set up.
Actually, it would defer some of the labor costs if we had men able, or people able.
In-kind services, we're not gonna be spending money, actually cash.
You can actually call it a project, like Jason could be the project manager, and he could charge all his time to this project. Where like the trail project, there is no money for that. When we put our time towards that, that's just our salary time. He could actually, I would turn in his time sheets. We did that with the fishing pier and the lighthouse, and we were able to put a lot of money into the equipment fund with that project. Over $78,000 went into the equipment fund from that grant. This is another one of those grants. So financial responsibility, no. Workload, yes.
Sounds like a good opportunity to defer some costs and
Get something done.
I know. Does anybody want to help me write it? Let's do one Friday.
The thing is, for that much money, if the whole state has got 1.2, you're asking for a pretty big chunk of it. So I don't know.
Well, and
I don't know if they will give you less.
I don't know. I don't know how successful we'll be, but the rumor mill is, because I do have friends in the DNR, that nobody's applied for this yet. This was kind of a last-minute type thing, and when you're smart and you pair up recreational grants with infrastructure grants through other departments through the DNR, a lot of people are parks and recreation people, so they only look at that, or they're street people, so they only look at that. So when you're looking at both of those, sometimes they're overlooked, and this is one of those grants that's been kind of overlooked so far as the application turnout. Now, by Friday, they might have $1 million in there, I don't know.
yeah, everybody else is doing the same thing right now.
You know, you would think, but then they'll give me a letter saying you're approved. No,
I would move that we authorize the city to apply for the Michigan DNR Aquatic Habitat Grant Program.
I'll support.
See where it goes.
Yep.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner O'Connor to apply for the DNR Aquatic Habitat Grant. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Jay, you'll be delivering pizzas to my office for the next 3 days? Thank you.
Free pizzas.
All right, next is, First Lutheran Street closure request.
This email came in late, the end of last week, and the First Lutheran would like to request to close off the street on Minneapolis between 12th and 13th for a bonfire in their parking lot on September 10th. The packets were already done and out, so that is why it is added to the agenda, because the next commission meeting is not till September 12th, which would be too late for their event. The typical process is that the city commission does approve all street closures. Had spoke with Paul Geyer, Director of Public Safety, earlier today, did not have any concerns. Obviously, we always caution people with this and with their fire pits that smoke can become a nuisance complaint. And he would deal with those, his department would deal with those if and when that became a problem. And then just providing some barricades if they need to out of our DPW department. So it is before you for consideration.
What was the date again?
September 10th.
What day is that?
Friday, isn't it?
Is it Friday?
Oh, Saturday.
Saturday.
Saturday. And the closure would be all day?
They did not have the time on here. Like I said, it was an email that was forwarded to me. Did not have a time, chance to discuss with Pastor Otis what the time was, but so I don't have a time.
I was going to say if it's going to be a bonfire.
It says that it's going to be, yep,
Okay, so I'm
a
going to assume
bonfire in their
6 to
parking lot. So I'm
6
assuming
to midnight,
evening.
something like that.
Yep. but I don't have the exact time.
How big a bonfire?
Says it will be, they were cautioned about a fire, having a fire, but they claim it will be in a fire pit in their parking lot.
And that's within the ordinance.
Recreational bonfires are allowed, burning brush, trees.
I'll make a motion that First Lutheran bonfire be approved with the street closure for September 10th.
I'll support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Thompson, support by Commissioner View. Any discussion?
We need to let the residents know, correct, that this is going to happen?
Typically, we do not when there is an event or a street closure. We don't make.
Get in and out.
Well, I'm just wondering if we could let the residents on the street that's going to be closed know ahead of time, and if you could confirm when they're going to have that, when they need it closed, if it's from 6 to midnight or whenever.
I will let Pastor Otis know and have them notify
Because
the
it's
residents.
a neighborly thing to do, just to let people.
Sure, and I can talk with him again. He may have already discussed that with the residents, but I will be in contact with him.
All right.
Right, typically, there is a special event application that is filled out, so they still will be required to, submit that to the city. Like I said, it came in at last minute and said we would do what we could to accommodate their request, but
All right, all those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Next is L, closed session to discuss written attorney letter. So I make a motion to enter into closed session to consider a written attorney opinion allowable under the Open Meetings Act 267 of 1976, Section 8, Item H.
I'll support.
one second. Okay, Commissioner O'Connor.
Yes.
Commissioner Phelan is absent and excused. Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner View?
Yes.
And Mayor Bostwick.
Yes. All right, we are in closed session.